Yo, what is up, Verdant? We're coming through hot today. It's the first game that you guys are going to see live from this Div 3 roster, and what a way to kick it off against the Invulnerables, who are also a team that we haven't seen anything from, so all expectations are out of the window, and we're going to have to see who pulls through today. I will be J Real. This is the Snow Spy. How are you feeling about this day?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm good. Statistically, let's look at this. Verdant has the fastest series win out of anyone else in this group. What was it, about a 25-minute series, 2-0? Absolutely smashed X7. No, of course, I'm memeing. X7 didn't submit their roster in time, but it does mean that Verdant already has those 2 wins on the board, and they're looking to make it 4 today.
Yeah, and it's a good spot to be in right now. You've already cleared the X7 hurdle. You're sitting at the top there. You're looking pretty strong. Well, you're looking pretty strong from a points perspective. We haven't actually seen what the team is going to do, but if you're Verdant, you're looking to make the climb back up to Div 2 and get to where you belong.
Yeah, I mean, these rosters are stacked, and I'm telling you what, I know why Verdant's in Div 3, J-Real. NLC Div 2 happened, but there's a reason for it, and it's because they saw that I wasn't casting NLC Div 2, and they're like, I want Snowspy to cast us again. So if we get down to Div 3, we get the Snowspy cast, he brings in J-Real, you get the dynamic duo, and then you can just get yourself back to Div 2 after anyway.
That's smart. That's smart. You already know. And look, it is what it is, right? Well, they've gone down. They can go back up. They can make that play once again. And it's just about growth, You have to fall to get the biggest successes, It's all about failing and then winning. It's not just about winning. You learn more from failure, But moving on to today's theories. How are you feeling for the side of Verdant? Who are we really looking at, Snowspy, from this team to really be the big carry potential?
I mean, my lord, this roster is stacked. And 2 players I want to highlight, just because of the accolades alone and the teams that they've played on, are 1, Petoska, and 2, Touch. Like, these 2 players are so well known in the league community. Touch was at Worlds with Dark Passage in 2014. Touch has been at the highest level of competition and is now on this Verdant roster with the rest of this squad, a really big veteran voice that can lead this team. And not only that, has played so many splits with Tide, their AD carry. So that duo is so strong together. And then you look at Petoska, a person who was on Nariki last split. That's NLC Div 1. That's literally like the step below LEC. They are there. They are playing at that level. And now those 2 superb players are on this roster and they are ready to show what they can do.
No, they are ready to go, and I'm sure they were looking to start off last week. They were looking to really put a stamp down by beating X7, but they didn't get the opportunity to. But they're here, now they're ready. They're looking to really make their campaign begin with a bang. And it is going to be a pretty interesting one. But looking on to the other side, though, the Invulnerables, who are you kind of speculating about from their team?
I mean, I'm not too sure. We don't have a massive amount to go off. A lot of these players aren't ones that I really recognize myself, so I'm mainly going off of solo queue. What I'm kind of interested to see is how their mid lane and their top lane perform. They're 2 solo laners, because we know Verdant solo lanes are going to come out strong, especially Petoska in that top lane. And the one thing I want to highlight is this Riven pick, which is going to be super contested from both. Petoska has a lot of games on it. Slayer is a player that has played 384 games of that champion in solo queue, well versed in that and the matchups around it. So this is one pick that I'm expecting should come out.
Yeah, and on the flip side, there's also some Udyr in this jungle that could get contested. There are some picks, Calm, as well as another one that we have to watch out for as well, because these contested picks could make or break everything. It really can change a whole draft. It can change a whole strategy, but we'll see what goes out in the bans as well. Because obviously, as we said, Riven, a really high priority pick. Sometimes it's just better to get rid of it than it is to just let and play against it.
Yeah, it's not really a pick that I can say I've seen much of, especially in higher levels of play. The way it functions as a team comps is a little bit weird. It doesn't really have a true role of what you want to do. It is one of those more solo queue picks. So I'm not sure if we will see it, because teams might opt to go into something like the Ornn, go for more scaling, which is what we've seen recently from pro play, is that teams go towards that late game, pick something like Azir Corki mid lane, pick something like Jinx bot lane, and just look to scale up and just play through those late game team fights. But if there's ever a game where it could happen, it's when you have 2 Riven players.
Of course. And in a way, I kind of wish we had Blind Like, I wish we could have like the two
Yeah.
ribbons facing each other, but alas, it's not going to be. We aren't going to get that, and we have to say it is going to be Invulnerables that are starting on the blue side. It is going to be
Mm,
Verdant on the red side. I will say it does feel like the Rift has chilled out a bit in terms of how powerful blue side can be. Obviously, MSI being the big one to note, where blue side was just so ridiculous,
mm.
but it feels like both can definitely be pretty solid for either. But we're going to be going into Champ Select right about now. So let's get this draft up. Hopefully, production didn't tell me a little bit too early.
Oh, that would have been such a good transition if you said right about now and then right as you rubbed your hands it went. But we missed it. Production, you griefed us. You told
We
us it
have
was
the
coming.
notepad. Yeah, we have the notepad. He's highlighted it. He's typing and he's telling us, but he's not giving us. Nah,
There
it's all
we
good.
go.
We just messed it. We got it up now. Here we go. We've got the champion select. As we can see, Invulnerables, they're going to be on the blue side, Verdant on the red. And we'll get ready for these few bans. And you know what? I'm excited. I'm excited for Verdant. I've heard a lot about Verdant. Obviously, we watched them last split. We saw Middlecott do the after show. I was on that one time. You were on that one time, I think, as well.
Hey, I was on there twice. Come on, it's my biggest
Exactly.
accolade.
There you go. Verdant, it's been shout out to Verdant, shout out to Verdant for making things happen. It's solid, solid, solid. And now we get to see their campaign begin in Div 3. Will they go full and after today's series? We'll have to find out. But Nocturne, they're going to be the first ban away, and it's the Anivia band from Verdant.
Nocturne and Nivea both taken away. Nocturne obviously has a lot of engage options, can play through a multitude of comps well, and it just gives you that macro advantage. You can play around side lanes, you can play for engaging team fights. But like you were speaking about before, now we see that Udyr taken away. I'm very much expecting a Wukong to be panned. It's something like 98% presence across all pro leagues. It is mental how busted that champion is and how well it does into a variety of different positions.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of popular picks come up. As you said, Wukong being probably the biggest stat, but Gwen also really popular. Some Lucians, some Viegos. Senna, big time on the rise as well.
Mm.
So we'll have to see how they do play. I know there are some Senna players in this lobby, so we'll see what they do decide to pick up. But the band's pretty interesting there. Udyr band away, we talked about. Seraphine is taken off the board, has been pretty strong recently. But the Jinx Yuumi, I'm a little bit surprised about the Jinx, to be honest.
Yeah, the Yuumi makes sense. The Jinx I'm a bit surprised about. I think it's mainly just Tide. Tide is such a good and mechanical AD carry, and when they have touch on their side, it's a duo that can definitely run away with the game. But I can't speak.
It's
Invernables.
all right, it's all right.
Go with that Volibear first pick. They're picking that jungler away. I have seen a few people flex Volibear into the top position, but it's in very specific matchups that suit the Volibear. And we'll have to see what Verdant goes for. Zeri, a good pickup, can kite away from that Volibear, can look to play these extended fights. So Verdant already hitting back straight away.
Yeah, indeed. And Zeri, it's also been on a bit of the rise. I think in LEC it was probably one of the most played picks, I think, in all of week one. Maybe things have changed a little bit since, but ooh, with Zilean. Okay, we talk about speed, we talk about cutting away. That is a double down from that movement.
Oh, poor Volibear. Volibear's not going to be able to play the game. If you didn't know, Zilean is probably one of the hardest counters to Volibear. The one thing Volibear wants to do is run at people. The one thing that Zilean prevents is running at people. He just puts a few points into that that slowdown, makes Volibear essentially become rooted for a few seconds when he's trying to charge in. But then they've countered it. They've pulled in this Amumu, and recently, we have just seen an Amumu buff come through, lowering of that mana cost on the recent patch, which means that Amumu could move back into that support position.
Yeah, no, indeed, indeed, indeed. I was just having a quick check with production, but we are going to have the, as you said, the Aphelios also being hovered. We won't get baited into that too much. Obviously, it's been locked in. Okay, so it is going to be picked up. I would say it's not been the most popular right now. Obviously, it still does have its place against Zeri. Obviously going to be useful in the late game, but it does feel like Zeri, unless they can lock them down, is always going to be a bit of that fly on the wall. And we're going to see what they do pair it with. Tam Kench being hovered there, that would set up for a very, very defensive comp, but they already have the Zilean, so unless they're going to chuck that one mid, I would be surprised.
Okay, seems like Verdant, if they lock this Hecarim, they're just going for the Formula 1 comp. They just want everyone to run as fast as possible. They're going to start doing loops around the map as soon as they win, see who can get around there the fastest. But it's just mental, the amount of mobility they have. I feel like people really sleep on speed ups. They're like dashes are the main thing, but speed ups are so useful, especially when you have kiting champions or champions that want to engage, because you can pick and choose the fights when and where you want.
No, indeed, and as you said, the move speed, the capability to do that is really there for Verdant, and they can keep drafting for that. We're going to see a few bans come out: Riven, Gangplank, remove off the Rift, but Invulnerables, they've gone for a little bit of a different comp. Now, obviously, Volibear most likely going to be going top if you have the Amumu, unless that's Amumu support, which I feel like hasn't been around for a while here, but with the Aphelios, I feel like they need a little bit more of that kind of keep them away, but Thresh is still
Mhm.
open.
Yeah, and I mean, with the Amumu, it's good to bring it up just so we can talk about it a little bit more. Is the main reason we hadn't seen Amumu for a while is he got really hard hit a few patches ago where they upped that mana cost to basically be, I think it was either 60 or 80 per bandage toss. They was no longer at that reduced mana rate, so you couldn't throw it all the time. Now they reduced that mana cost back down. You're going to be able to use that ability more. You're going to be able to play the lane out a little bit better. And he's not forced into the jungle, but he still can play in that jungle role. I just feel like it'll be a little bit rough into that Hecarim. So personally, I'm expecting to see that Amumu in the support position. It gives you so much engage, and especially into a team with a lot of movement like this, that Curse of the Sad Mummy, that ult is so useful to you.
Yeah, indeed, and it's interesting. You know, there's potential play around it. You know, you potentially have that flex of that Amumu going to support. You have that flex of the Volibear staying top, but we're going to see Verdant there lock in the Victor, a very strong mage right now, has so much AOE damage, and also it's pretty hard to just run straight into. So have fun, Volibear.
Yeah, it's pretty much come from a comp that has so many options in going forwards for the Hecarim to move forwards, for the Zeri to chase, to now a composition that wants to move backwards. You've got a Victor, you've got a Zeri. This is such a strong backline, and it's so difficult to kill. I'm expecting Verdant to lock in a super hardcore tank front line for this top lane, and it pretty much rounds off your comp. Front to back, your backline can't be killed, they can't be engaged on, and it's very good from Invulnerables to recognize that and possibly go towards something like that Ornn, because now you have engage options to get on them. But like I said, Verdant might just be locking in a straight tank here, and it makes it so difficult for Invulnerables to play.
Oh, that would be a real tough lock. Although there are still hovers coming out, but we'll talk about Invulnerables team first. We have the Ornn, we have the Corki, so a lot of ranged engage, a lot of ranged damage with that. They can really just sit back and play the game at their own pace, and that's going to be a Fiora there. So they've said, you know what? We're looking to make plays across the map. We have a very strong 4 versus 4. We're going to now give the split push threat as well to really see how strong your comp is. Because obviously, who is going to match that Fiora?
Yeah, exactly. And Patoska pretty much turned around in draft and was like, "You want me to play a tank? Nah, 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 nah. I don't do that here. Do you know who I am? I am NLC Division 1 player Patoska. I didn't come down here to play no tanks." Pulls out the Fiora, but it makes a lot of sense in their composition, and you highlighted it perfectly. Their 4v4, that 4-man unit is so strong. It's still the same premise. They can't really get engaged on because this Hecarim is so good at frontlining for the rest of his team. Zillion could speed them out of any rough situations. And that Fiora is just going to dominate that side lane. Corki can maybe hope to clear waves, but Ornn is going to have zero chance into that champion late game.
Yeah, and as you said, they have that capability to kite. They have a lot of move speed, the Zillion, the Zeri, the Hecarim, but they also have the potential for one of their teammates to get burst and then come back. You know, they have the Zillion. So if the Victor does get caught, if the Zeri does get caught, they have another opportunity where they can then regroup. And as we talk about those extended fights going on and on and on with that 4 versus 4 or 4 versus 5, if it does decide that Invulnerables want to group up like that, they're just going to be buying time for that Fiora. And then if you have to send someone down there, the option is, who do you send? Do you send one of the tanks who can't basically 1v1 her once she gets the ultimate online? Or are you going to have to send someone like the Corki who, yes, could potentially hold them back, could potentially wave clear, but is a little bit at a vulnerable situation, but also is so much of your damage in the team
Yeah,
fights?
exactly. You need this Corki to be there because at the moment, the one thing that you have as a slight advantage is the fact that while Verdant has that Hecarim, they don't really have a true tank. Corki does well into squishies. He builds that magic pen. He gets a lot of poke off in these rockets. So that is your one advantage. In this 4 versus 4, you hit these skill shots, you look for this poke, and you can find it as this draft is going to be restarted. Apparently, there was a bug in draft. It's just going to be the
Yeah.
exact same one coming through. But like we're talking about, this Corki is so important to your group because you need them to constantly poke and try to put out damage to negate Verdant's ability to engage on you. So if they're in the side lane, you're a little bit stuffed from Invulnerables.
No, 100%. So I will say it does kind of lean to that factor of, are they going to play around that top side? Are they going to shut down that Fiora? But it feels like it's kind of diminishing results. You know, I
Mm.
feel like you could play towards it, but it's a sentiment where you then losing the opportunity to give your Corki that lead, you're losing that Aphelios lead, you're potentially allowing Victor to keep scaling, or the Zeri to keep scaling, and they're also big threats. I feel like Verdant have picked a comp where they're set across the board with everyone being quite dangerous, and if you do spend a lot of time really taking on that Fiora, it does feel like it's really going to hurt Invulnerables. So in a way, I feel like you just kind of have to say, look, Ornn, you're on your own, you just got to deal with it. Don't die, don't give them too much of a lead, and we'll try and basically win on the 4 versus 5 basis.
Exactly, and I feel like the point where Vulnerables needs to really find an advantage is through trades, because your Ornn isn't going to beat out this Fiora. But what you need to do is say, okay, we're going to give up tier 1 or tier 2 turret, but we'll group for the dragon, we'll look for a team fight, because at the end of the day, you do have an Ornn, you have a Volibear, you have very good ability to just run in. With this Amumu as well, your engage is so good. Land one of those bandage tosses onto the back line. That Curse of the Sandwormy is such a big range that you should be able to lock down at least one of these carries, if not both. So with that in mind, if Invulnerables finds themselves at an objective first, I could see them winning these team fights and possibly that leading to them getting advantages in the mid game.
Yeah, dude, it definitely could. And look, it's a game of League of Legends, you know? Either team could win. It's just about the ease of access, the ease of comp
Mm.
that you are setting yourself up with. It does feel like Invulnerables have gone for the very classic team comp. You know, I will say, if you were to group 5 people that have played a little bit of League of Legends, this is the comp that I would say is the one they should pick. You know, they've gone for a very simplistic style. They've got some good engage. They've got some good AoE CC. They've got 2 damagers that can stay quite far back and dish out their damage without too much of a threat towards their life. But if Verdant play their comp well, it is going to be very hard for them to go down. They have lots of damage, they have lots of kite ability, and it could become quite difficult for these tanks to really get onto their team. So even though Invulnerables, for me, has the easier to access or easier to execute comp, I do think that Verdant have come out of draft a little bit ahead.
Yeah, I think if Invulnerables was playing this comp 3 months ago, I'd say without a doubt Invulnerables is in the lead. Back when Corki and Aphelios were absolutely broken, you just played front to back, you played through these 2 champions and you'll be fine. But now it's not quite the same vein. Like we're seeing that more and more damage is coming into the game. And yes, we had the durability patch, but still champions like Fiora, like Hecarim that can find access onto your backline are so useful at negating that front to back style, because Hecarim, he doesn't care. When he uses that onslaught of shadows, he's diving through your front line, disrupting these team fights and creating so much space for Victor and Zeri. And I think the one point where Invulnerables has an advantage is, like you said, it's that ease of access and the fact that you know where everyone's going to be standing. Ornn's going to be in the front. Volibear's going to be there with him. Amumu's looking to engage. And Corki and Aphelios are that line behind them. Whereas in Verdant, it's a little bit more flexible. You've got Victor and Zeri kind of skirting around the outside with the Zillion speed ups, trying to poke a little bit of damage. And if at any point Invulnerables lands that one bit of CC, everything can go awry for Verdant.
No, 100%. We've all played a comp where you get CC trapped and there's just nothing you can do. And if Aphelios or Corki can scale, if you have the package around those objectives, you really can just lock them into an absolute nightmare. If you get the Curse of the Sand Mummy off, if you get the Ornn Horn, the Call of the Foreshore coming through, and then the package on top, well, you're not going anywhere for about 3 years, and by the time you get out of that CC, you're already going to be back in base because that damage from Corki is so righteous. There is not going to be anything you can do about it. So, Verdant, although they have all the escapability in the world, although they can kite around these team fights, do have to be that little bit cautious, you know, because Zillion can only bring back one of your members, but I'm interested to see how much they actually play for these fights. I'm wondering, are Verdant going to be quite passive? Are they going to give up a lot of Drakes if they're not easily takeable, and then just let the Fiora scale and really try and pull apart this really strong team fight of Invulnerables?
Well, I feel like your bot lane should be able to get priority. You've got that Zillion Zeri lane. Zillion can double bomb the wave, create that push instantly. It's very easy to create pressure. So you can look for early dragons through that. But it's once again, it's that situation where if Tide and Touch misstep, which I'm not expecting them to, remember what we said beforehand. They are a duo that has played together a lot. They are both really good players, really experienced. So if they know how to play out this lane, they will do it almost perfectly. But the top lane is where I'm expecting Flaud's attention to be. If you get Patoska ahead on this Fiora into Ornn matchup, I am just I'm just expecting that Fiora to dominate. Ornn won't be able to do anything in this game, and as soon as your side lanes are set, you can play that 4-man roaming death squad, show up to objectives, and look for those kills.
No, indeed, 100% agree with you. And it's a sentiment where both teams, I will say, have pretty good scaling. You know, neither team has to have a massive early game. You know, both can play for a later game and really keep themselves ticking over. You know, you've got the Victor, you've got the Zeri, Fiora, they all scale really nicely. Obviously, Zillion's ult becomes even more and more increasingly dangerous as you go through. Yes, Hecarim falls off a little bit, but its engage will always be there. And then on the flip side, you have ornaments. Okay, yes, Volibear, a little bit of a fall off in a similar way to Hecarim, but still able to stun people up, still able to get into their faces and cause them problems. And then Corki, Aphelios. Of course they're going to scale. They're going to always have damage. Yes, Corki's mid game is the big peak, but it's still going to be strong in the late game, especially with the Mumu causing them problems with the magic damage. Because of the fact that he can give you that little bit of a buff, that little bit of a decay on that magic, it really is going to keep Corki very, very relevant in the game. And obviously CC never becomes a problem.
And like you said, it's that situation that we kind of highlighted where the bandage toss goes in, the curse of the sandworm comes through, and the extra magic damage that happens means that package, if it lands on the backline, is just going to obliterate them with almost true damage. So in the late game, there are so many opportunities for Invulnerables to find that kind of engage and just win a team fight and end up snowballing through the game. I feel like in this game, the onus is on Invulnerables to find that engage. And if they don't, Verdant should naturally win these team fights because they have all the tools to do so. They have so much damage. They have so much ability to skirt around and play around their range. And it's really on Invulnerables to find that engage.
No, indeed. We are going to see how they do navigate this one as we are going to be going into a game. Let's get this one underway. Invulnerables versus Verdant there. We'll see who can come out on top. Who can pick up their first official win right now in this series. Obviously, as we said, Verdant have got a win so far, but they haven't got it through playing the game just yet.
No, I mean, you say that, but it is the fastest 2-0 victory in NLC Div 3. And I'm going to keep saying it for the rest of the split. It's a record that they hold that no one's going to be able to beat. Well, hopefully, unless anyone just FFs later on down the line. But, you know, Verdant right now, looking strong. Statistics don't lie, baby. And Verdant coming in, looking for that swift 4-0.
They are looking for that Swift 4-0 indeed. And to be fair, what a way that would be to play, you know. Coming in, setting yourself up for that success, taking those higher echelon tiers. It's big plays. It's exactly what you want to see if you're Verdant. And it puts you back on the record to try and go for that Div 2.
And that's the aim at the end of the day. That's what every team wants. And Verdant, they've been there. They know what the Promised Land looks like, and they want to find it again. As some trading in the bot lane, but it's not going to go the way of Invulnerables, and this is the issue. But they're going in. It just won't stop, J-Real.
Ooh, touch there. Getting touched up a bit, but it gets that takes the majority of that trade. Although I will say, it is pretty nice there for the side of Invulnerables there, as Roikia hasn't really had any damage done to them, whereas Tide and Touch both receiving a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of damage coming back and forth, and we see there that already the mana buffs coming through, just so useful to that Amumu. Last patch, that would have been a Amumu on pretty much half mana, whereas now he's thrown both, already back up to full mana again, but has had to use those health pots, like stated before. And the pressure is going the way of Verdant at the moment, so they've got that level 2 first, and they're going to be able to walk up in lane.
Indeed, they are, and it's a tentative time for them right now. You know, they're just making sure that they're not going to be losing out too much. They're trying to keep themselves close in this game. They don't want to give up too much ground, I guess you could say. But as I said, both of them can be quite happy just keeping it stable in this lane. You don't need to force these fights, and I imagine waiting for the junglers is just the best play for both.
Yeah, if we were in a low reload game or solo queue, I'd say they're probably going to look for a 2v2 kill soon, but that's just not the way it works when you're in these higher echelons of play. You need to play for the jungler, you need to play around vision, and at the moment, we've seen this Volibear clear towards bot side. He is slightly ahead of Flawed, but we see Flawed double camping, so we'll have to see who gets to this bot lane first, because whoever gets a lead is just going to be able to constantly pressure out that enemy laner. If it's that Amumu Aphelios lane, they're going to be able to bully this Zeri Zillion.
No, indeed. And talking about junglers going down to this bot side, we are going to see that Volibear is lurking around. So is Hecarim there. Both finishing off their clears, and now Volibear going to be looking for this gank. Pinterest is on the way, but that's a lot of damage from Zeri, and here comes the Hecarim. They're trying to chase this one down, but he will be able to walk away for now. But Pinterest not having their first gank that they would have hoped for.
And you can't really gank the Zilean lane as a Volibear unless Egert's on this Amumu lands the bandage toss first. You don't really have a way to play it. You're just running at them, waiting for the Zilean speed up or slow down to come through, and they're so easily able to kite it out. A lot of onus is on Egert's in this lane to make these ganks happen.
Yeah, but it's tough. You know, if you don't get the bandage toss onto Tidal Touch, it really is a big gap to close. And they've got the cleanse. They have flashes as well. There is a lot of safety in this bot lane that makes it so tough, but it's a gank that you have to try and make. As in the bot side, and maybe we talked a bit too soon, as we are going to see the stun, but it's not going to be enough there. Gravitum getting the lockdown, but it will not be a kill. But flash out of Tide and cleanse already used.
Flash and cleanse used, and on the flip side, flash from... I can't speak today, J-Real. It's not working for me. Flash from the AD carry of Invulnerables and Ignite used by Egerts. So it's an even trade altogether. That cleanse is going to be up relatively soon. But it means that now you can look for that kill. You can look for that gank again. And if the bandage toss lands, you should be securing yourself first blood.
Yeah, indeed. Right now, talking about First Blood, maybe we get in the top side, although I would be very surprised if it is Slayer that picks up First Blood over Petroska. Obviously, able to get some damage down, and the Fiora not having the greatest of time, but you have to wait until that level 6 comes through. That's when you really have to be careful in this lane if you're the Ornn.
Yeah, going to find it a little bit difficult here as soon as it gets later on. Already down 12 CS, and... smacking away at that anvil, building some items, got that Bramble Vest, so it will get a little bit easier. And that's pretty much what Ornn's looking for. Bramble Vest, plated steel caps. As soon as he gets those two items, the lane becomes a little bit more bearable. But Petroska, knowing this, already going the call. They know it's going to be a naturally winning lane, so might as well go for that extra gold.
Yeah, right now we're looking at this gold, and it's pretty good for the side of Verdant. You know, most of them are ahead. We've seen Flawed already invading on to the side of Pinterest's jungle, taking those camps, building a bit of a lead, and is really starting to generate that mid-game power spike that he is going to need. Obviously, we're still very early on, no items have been built, but having these small leads is going to start to pile up, and it really could turn the tide in this jungle matchup, which could then be used to really push ahead at the side of Verdant.
And everyone's always talks about it. Jungler, most OP role in the game, you know. They impact all lanes, they farm all the camps, they take the CS when you're not there. It's a broken role, and trying to prove that is Pinterest, who might be looking for a gank in the bot lane.
Might be in there, it's the bandage shots, they are going to get them down, but Zeri able to just jump away, and Zeri is just a nightmare to gank for this ability alone. It is just difficult. We are going to see the mid laners moving down Flawed. Going to take a decent chunk of damage. They have to be a bit careful. As Corki able to drop bombs there with the Missile Barrage.
Oh, but there's a level 6 advantage that comes through from having the Zilean. Maybe if they want to contest it, they'll be up on ultimates, as they might go for this J-Real.
Pinterest is going to have to walk away. They started up the dragon that was Invulnerables, but they are going to have to leave that and move towards their own jungle as they are pressured away. You said about that level 6, and they are really respecting the onslaught of shadows.
And already 20 CS up from Flawed, and we just see the difference between this Hecarim and Volibear. Hecarim, so much better at full clearing, at finding those camps, and this Volibear has been trying to find ganks, but hasn't been able to make anything happen as of yet. So at the moment, Verdant in a really good position, finding advantages, a 1,000 gold lead, and it's purely off of these 1 versus 1 matchups.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good if you can't get those leads as Volibear, and we talked about where he's going to gank. We were correct saying that top lane would have been maybe a little bit of a waste. They're trying to get these bot lane ganks, but again, it's not really working out for them so far. But then they looked for those dragons. We talked about maybe Verdant play a little bit passive, play for that Fiora to really scale, maybe give over a few Drakes, but they haven't so far. They've kept themselves very much in it, and their bot lane is doing completely fine. They're keeping up with CS with the side of Invulnerables.
And it's where you want to be if you're Verdant. Your team's not spiking yet. Zeri's, Victor, they both need a bit of time to ramp up, and you're fine giving away this 3rd dragon. 8 minutes, it's not the quickest dragon in the world. It's going to give you a bit of time before that 3rd one to be able to get a couple of items on you. I think the main thing is they need to try and look to contest this Herald, because that's the one way that Invulnerables can start to give themselves a little bit of a lead and look to snowball a lane, is getting that Herald, getting access to taking out one of these tier 1s early, and when they open up the map, they can look to do a lot more with this Volibear.
Yeah, and as you said, look, they've got time. I want to ask you where you stand on this whole dragon thing. Like, do you give up until the 4th dragon, or do you give up until the 3rd dragon? You know, where are you seeing the contest? Obviously, League being a fluid game, it does depend on the game state, but are you saying that first 2 Drakes, not too important, 3rd Drake must play, or are you saying that actually sometimes 3rd Drake is fully fine to give up as well?
Well, I feel like Damwon Kia kind of, in that Worlds run that they made in 2019, they showed to us that you play for the 3rd dragon and you look for heralds early, but I'm not going to get to talk about this as a fight starting.
Yeah, right now, Hecarim, they're going to have to leave. Onslaught Shadow is used. Here's Fiora, already using the Grand Challenge, and Volibear going pretty low, but able to get away from them, and in comes he gets, but he might be the new target. Fiora going to pick up the first blood there. Patoska now trying to get away, though, from Roikia, who is on the chase. There's the Ornhorn catching out Sumi, but the flash away. The shield gets them out of this, and Patoska also trying to make their way out. Slayer on the other side, trying to get into this fight, but Tide is just coming out. Get the resurrection back onto Fiora. They still haven't lost a member, and they've picked up 2, and now the charge comes back. Flawed onto the backline. Slayer going to be the one going down. Patoska stepping back into this fight, and Roikia now the one having to flash away, and it's now the charge underneath the tower. I don't know if they want to go for this, though. Patoska stepping back. There's the double bomb. Does have... Ooh, it is going to be another kill to Roikia there, but it's finally taken by Tide as Touch now trying to walk away. It gets is back in this fight with Ruben as well, as Flawed trying to get out, and this is an extended play we've ever seen. The flash doesn't get them out. Flawed is going to go down, so is the Zalian. The extended play is over, and it is going to be a 3-for-3 overall. Sorry, a 4-for-3 overall in Verdant's favour.
Oh my lord, what do I even talk about this? Okay, I'm going to give myself a second to calm down and breathe, because there is so much going on there. That fight starts over the Herald. I didn't even realise Verdant were going to contest it. They didn't have members yet. They were a little bit behind on the play, but in the end of the day, it is going to be actually Invulnerables coming out of that Herald, but they go to contest it. They find a little bit of CC, and there's a few small things that happen there. First of which being Touch got level 6 off of that first kill that came out onto Egets on that Amumu, and that was able to save Patoska's life, which ended up extending that fight. In the end, Verdant went a bit too far. They wanted to dive onto Roikia to find themselves that extra little bit of gold through that kill, and they weren't able to do it, so that ended up being Invulnerables getting a few of those kills back. But overall, Verdant comes out on top with 2k gold, but Invulnerables has that Herald that we spoke about, and they're going to have an opportunity to make a play off of that.
Yeah, felt like a little bit of an overextension at the end there. It was a little bit risky going for that tower dive. Yes, Patoska does have the riposte, but it's only so many tower shots you can survive, and obviously tower's pretty strong after that 8-minute mark, so you do have to be very, very careful, and maybe it did cost them a little bit in that play. As we could see, Invulnerables picking up the turret as well. I don't know if it's worth a kill, but right now on the bot side, we are going to get an engage there coming out from Egets, and Roikia able to get a lot of damage onto Touch, who is trying to get away, does have Chrono Shift though, will be able to keep themselves alive. They're coming back, but no Zalian ult now for a little bit.
And that Chrono Shift, what people don't realise, it's a deceptively low ult cooldown, despite it being one of the most broken abilities in the game. Asumi going to get ganked.
Oh, there is the knock up. The bear already doing big damage, but here comes Hecarim. Not going to be able to turn this one around, though, as they've already picked up the kill, but maybe can get another kill for themselves. Does finish off the Volibear, but now has to be on the move. Roikia there, and he gets moving up to protect their top laner, who switched up into the mid lane.
And I apologise there. I called it a gank, but does it really count as a gank when you gank yourself and run down into river? It was a bit of a weird decision by Sumi. They had seen the Volibear on the ward and moves down there to, I think, try contest a little bit of vision. Ends up getting caught out there, but Flawed picks up the kill on the backside, so keeps this game state at an even point. Now, the important part is we've got this Herald still available, 20 seconds until this Dragon. That means that Invulnerables has the option. Do they want to go for these tower plates, try bring back a bit of that gold lead, or are they going to try stack these Dragons up more?
Indeed, it does definitely answer the question. And another question that we did get answered is, who are they going to get to match the Fiora? They have sent Corki up to the top side. We'll see if that does continue. Right now, though, Drake is on the menu. They're looking to close in on this one. They've dropped the Herald for the mid. They have the package. The team is setting up, all ready for the second Drake.
Yeah, they have the package, like you said. Rift Herald going to be placed, which needs to be cleared out by Sumi, who doesn't have TP, but they're going in.
Oh, right, yeah, they're going to be jumped on, but there is the stun landing from Celine, and it's going to be, he gets to get away with a bandage toss over to the Dragon. Beautiful play there from the Mumu to get themselves clear of this dangerous situation. Dragon is going to be slowly going down, Flawed, looking to maybe get in with a sneak there, as we are going to see Ruben jumping onto the back line, but over the Dragon, it's going to be Vonnie that takes it. A big knock up there, starts on this fight as Fiora trying to get into this fight, but Flawed still alive, finally goes down, and Roikia trying to survive here. The stun from Mumu is keeping him up, but he will finally fall when he gets, will be the next in line. And it is going bad for Invulnerables. They're trying to get away. Sumi, one more bit of damage will kill off Slayer. It's going to be Tide that picks it up. It's 2 for Tide. It's 2 for the Fiora. And they're putting themselves back in control of this game.
Oh, and it's almost perfectly like we were speaking about what would happen. This invulnerable side, we said, needs to fight front to back. They've set their composition up so that Ornn looks for the engage, Volibear follows up. But look at this fight here. It's just so scatty. It's so split up all over the place. They're not all on the same page. Ruben jumps in forwards first, trying to package onto touch. And when the team comp is split apart like that, that is where Verdant thrives. You've got all these carries that are so good in these 1v1s, these 2v2 skirmishes, and they just play around each other and off of each other so well, and they easily carry through that team fight, pick themselves up the Dragon. And I think the more important part to look at is that Fiora now has 3 kills and 4 assists, up 60 CS. A problem that we spoke about before has just become even bigger.
It really was a strong fight for Verdant, and it was a situation, as you said, that favours them. You know, they want that broken team fight. They want it to be 1v1s across the board, and we said Invulnerables are going to have trouble getting onto that backline. People like the Victor, people like this area. If they don't play it front to back either, it just means their carries are going to be left wide open to get taken down, and we've already seen Patoska starting to pull some crazy plays onto this bot lane duo.
Yeah, Patoska is kind of running away with this game a little bit. I mean, everyone from Verdant's playing well, but if you look at Patoska, absolutely dominating that one-on-one matchup, like 67 CS from this Ornn in 15 minutes. That is not very good, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching this one and that's solo queue stats, that's what I'm expecting to see. I don't think I've ever seen someone be down this much CS this early on in the game in this kind of level of play. That is how well Patoska is playing this one-on-one matchup. The fact that they are completely able to shut out Slayer.
But it's more than that as well. It's not only that Patoska is ahead on CS. We talked about how the split push pressure would be very strong from Patoska, but they've been in 7 of the 9 kills as well. They're playing with their team. They're able to really be a part of these skirmishes and being a positive member when it comes to these team fights, which we didn't even really expect. You know, we were talking about how strong the Fury will be in the split push and how they can split open the map, let alone the fact that they're just winning team fights.
And what I will say is it's no discredit to Slayer. It's not like Slayer is playing this one badly. Slayer is playing for the team, showing up to objectives, trying to group, trying to make plays happen. But speaking of plays...
Oh, yeah, talking about groups as well. We are going to see a little bit of a scrap in the top side, but nothing will happen. We are going to see Fiora there taking that bot lane tower, so that will be first a brick across the map as well. And starting to fit into what we expected from this Fiora.
And I don't think there's anything more terrifying than seeing an E-Max Zillion speeding up that Hecarim who is just pelting towards you at max pace. And Jeriel, I know this might be a point of contention for you, but horses are quite dangerous, you know?
They are quite dangerous, and it's interesting that you brought this one up. I will say bears are a little bit more dangerous, but I don't know if this one is going to be particularly lethal. Not going to be able to get into range of that Fiora. Horses are pretty dangerous, you know, and especially centaurs. You know, they're a little bit more dangerous than horses. So we're expecting a lot to come from this jungle, and we'll see how we can really make this one work. I feel like Flawed hasn't had the biggest carry game right now, but he's been in the relevant situations that he needs to be. And if we look at the farm for them as well, they're still keeping ever so slightly ahead of Pinterest, but they've had a lot more opportunity to make things work, get their team into good opportunities, and really win out on these team fights.
That's the thing, it's the decision junglers always have to make. Do I play for the team or do I play for myself? Flawed is making that active decision to say, I'm going to play for my team now, and he's been giving camps up. He's been letting his carries take some of these camps away, get themselves onto their item points a lot quicker, and it means that when they get to these team fights, 30 seconds until Dragon, it's his AD carry sitting on 2 items rather than being 1.5, and that advantage is so huge when it comes to winning you these team fights.
Yeah, indeed, sorry, they're getting slightly ahead. If we can have a little look at the gold, if production has that one available. It will be pretty nice to see how people are doing across the map just before this next Drake is going to be setting up. It is going to be the Hextech Drake. Obviously, the client's still showing you Mountain, but I will tell you that is not correct right now.
Hextech Drake coming up, which is so good for Verdant, but Invulnerables has those two dragons, and it's like we were talking about before. You asked the question, third Drake seems to be the one that you want to fight all in for. Invulnerables got the last two. There was a team fight around it that they lost, but Verdant is here now. Verdant is ready to scrap, and they want to make this happen.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can start to play to that team fight style like we talked about. Fiora pushing on in, causing some problems on the bot lane, is making it a little bit harder for them to group straight away, but they have decided to group now. They are here as a 5, but Victor on the side.
Oh my lord.
So much damage onto the carries there in the backline. Ruben and Roy are going to have to step away, but in goes the CC, but on the backline, they've already taken down the ADC. Ruben now the main damage for this team, but he's going to be chased away by this Hecarim, who is charging him down, but isn't going to be able to get into range just yet. But there's the swipe. Will he get the damage? He does pick it up. And on the bottom side of this map, Pinterest is trying to run away from Fiora, but we've all been here before. It is so difficult to get away from the clutches of this Sword's Mistress, and she picks up another kill. They will get the Drake as well, plus the ace. A big win for Verdant.
Absolutely massive on that one, and Scumbag Touch, I'm not sure if we're going to get the replay through, but Scumbag Touch ults himself instead of his AD carry, so making sure that tied, got to make sure they've got the synergy, 1 death each, making sure that he's not going for the 2 deaths, trying to keep that KDA intact. But we see here, they're just, Invulnerables aren't on the same page on their engage, and so they're not really able to make it happen. And there you go, Touch ults himself, doesn't want himself to die, make sure Tide goes down instead. And Verdant, this is just a really clean team fight for them. It's the exact same situation again. Sumi on that backside, just constantly harassing the enemy carries, and the fact that before the fight started, uses that Chaos Storm, chunks out both the Corki and the Aphelios. It just makes it unfightable for Invulnerables, but they felt the pressure, they felt the heat, and they thought they had to go in.
Yeah, and I will say there's a little bit of leniency from me towards Invulnerables about being on the same page, because it's hard to be on the same page when the books are on fire. The Chaos Storm that came down from Sumi immediately at the start of the fight means that Roykia and Ruben, they had to then start thinking, wait a minute, I can only take a little bit more damage before I die, and then it makes you a little bit more hesitant, and then Petoska around the backline just killing off Roykia. It just meant that their teamfight was so difficult to take because they already had so much damage onto those carries. But talking about teamfights in this top side, we are going to get another one, but it's once again the team able to kite out. In goes he gets once again, gets onto Sumi, but there's the chrono shift and it'll keep him alive. Roykia trying to turn this into some meaningful kills, but they cannot get into range. It will be another 2 kills given over to Verdant with no losses.
Oh no, Roy Kia's gonna go down on the end of it as well, and Verdant just does what they want at this point in the game. They want your jungle, they're gonna take it. They want this Baron, they're gonna take it. And I think we just need to point out, it's official. Petoska officially has the Flame Horizon. Now 110 CS up. Absolutely mental how much they've been able to dominate this matchup in this game. And right now, Invulnerables in a really rough spot, and they have to start considering what they're going to change up for game 2.
Yeah, as Ariana would say, I want it, I got it. That's exactly how Verdant are playing, and they're just collecting all of the 7 rings, which are objectives in this game. It's a really strong showing from Verdant, and I have a bit of a question about rings. Do you feel like, obviously, big sports in America, the NFL, the NBA, you get rings for winning. Do you feel like that should be true for Worlds as well?
What, you just get a ring?
Yeah, like that'd be super cool.
I mean, they get skins, man. They are immortalized through code in the game. Like, you can play as yourself. I feel like that's pretty dope. Like, that's like if basically whoever won the NBA championships, the next season, everyone had to play with, like, a Warriors basketball. And that way, every time you're literally looking at the ball, you just see the Warriors and know that they beat you.
Damn, that is strong. That is true. Skins are pretty nice. Who knows? Maybe we'll get rings one day as well. But Verdant back on to this motive. They want what they want and they will take it by force. They're looking to take
Oh
down
my
this tier
god.
3. The poke is ridiculous. Roikia, step back, my guy. It's dangerous territory for you. Oh, Zeri! Once again, the flash has to come out from the Aphelios too. But into the backline goes the volley bear, but so is his health bar just dipping down. Ornn going to stand in front of him for a little bit longer, but Ornn going to be shredded as well. Slayer is slain, and as he gets the steps forward, but again, it will not be another kill. The chrono shift there onto Tide. He's gonna go down, come back with some more HP. Roikia trying to stay away from this team, trying to get some damage down. Will get a bit onto Patoska, will force him to walk away, but the towers are just falling. They're going to go down. There's the first bomb, and it is going to be a kill onto Fiora, but the GA is going to be propped there. They're going to be coming up, and there's the stun as well. It just turns around every single time, and it's Verdant just coming out on top.
And it doesn't seem like they're going to end it off just yet. They are going to take those bases. They are going to play it slightly safe. I mean, there's not really many ways to play it safe when you're 14 gold up, K gold up anyway. Outside of running it down 1 versus 5, most ways that you can close out this game are pretty safe. But they are possibly just going to base, look to move straight down that mid lane, look to end that game, look for another team fight again. And Verdant has just been dominating this game since the first 5 minutes, and they are not letting up now. And my lord, is it nice to see this team dominate.
Yeah, and I said that both teams had good late game. Verdant are in their late game. You know, they're chilling right now. They're 15k or 14k up already. 24 minutes in, and Patoska wants to make that more. Going aggressive now, Roikia on the run. He gets the one that's going to be taken down almost, but the Grand Challenge does give the heal. It's going to be Patoska just able to cause so much trouble and not take any damage for it. Here's the Order Horn, but will they be able to get through? 1 kill going down already. Patoska looking for more. They find a second. They're looking for a third. Pinterest, you can't get away from this team over walls. They're going to find another. They find the Order in the mid as well. That is the ace in their base. They're going to end this game at quick pace because Verdant have taken game 1.
And I just want to apologize to everyone. I said that outside of Verdant running in 1 versus 5, they should be winning this game no matter what. Turns out, Patoska can run in 1 versus 5 and they will still win this game. That is how far ahead they were. That is such a strong showing from this Verdant side. And the thing is, I didn't even know what to say to give Invulnerables fans hope. Across the board, Verdant was just able to outperform. They looked so good. Their draft had such clear goals in mind, and they performed those goals absolutely. I feel like if you're Invulnerables, you need to kind of go back to the board, see what you want to do, because their draft was good. It had things to play around. It's just that from 5 minutes onwards, Verdant found every kill they wanted. They were able to get to the objectives. They were able to get the gold on their carries, and it just went completely their way.
Yeah, I might need to look up some words in the dictionary, or maybe hold it on, Jake, get some vocab for how to describe this game. To be honest, all I can really say from Verdant is dench, bro. That's how they look. Yeah. They came in strong, and there's no two ways about it. They're looking strong. They're looking very, very clean as well. They were playing the fights nicely, and there were some scrappy players as well. I will say a couple of missteps from Verdant a little bit early on, but in general, some very good gameplay from them. And also in Invulnerables, it's going to be a bit of a tough task to get back, but we'll see if they can do it. Are there any particular things that you think they should change about the draft per se, or are you just thinking it's a gameplay diff?
I think give yourself more options to play around. I feel like that draft was very focused on Victor and Aphelios need to carry, and if one of those two falls behind, we have no chance of winning this game. We either have to get to super late game, or we need one of them to carry. Play into this top lane matchup. Slayer is a good player, as evidenced by the fact that they are a Masters player as well. Give them something that can compete into Patoska, and maybe let them try play out that matchup a bit more and utilize this early game jungler of the volley bear, if you decide to pick it again, to make plays around the map.
Okay, well, we are going to be going on to a short break. We'll be coming back with game 2, so don't go too far. Maybe go get a drink, maybe go get a snack, but be right back after this break.